Are you ready to explore the unknown? Dive into the world of the strange, mysterious, and unexplained with Eerie Expeditions magazine. Each issue is packed with spine-tingling tales, cutting-edge paranormal investigations, and exclusive insights into hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and more. Whether you're a seasoned investigator or just love a good ghost story, Eerie Expeditions magazine has something for you. Join our growing community of truth seekers and adventure lovers. Subscribe today at EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com and unlock the secrets of the supernatural. Are you ready? That's EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com, where the extraordinary is just a click away. Dare to discover.
Welcome to the Gateway, broadcasting live from United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM. I'm your host this evening, C.L. Thomas. Tonight on the Gateway podcast, I'm joined by paranormal investigator and Eerie Expeditions magazine writer, Kimberly Horn, along with investigator Elsie Ann, to discuss a chilling experience at the historic Sumpter Inn that quickly turned into something neither of them expected. And quite frankly, when I heard this story, I didn't expect this either. It's quite interesting. But before we get into that, you've been listening to Sean Kelly with Into the Night right here on United Public Radio Network 107.7. If you missed a show, tune in on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific to catch them live. I hope everyone is doing well. We're kind of started early a little bit, so I do apologize for that. It's currently 98 degrees here in the valley, and I've been a little bit quiet lately. I just kind of stepped away from social media and been kind of watching what everybody else is doing for a little bit. And it's kind of interesting when you step back and watch everybody else and all the actions and drama and all that sort of thing. It's kind of nice to step back sometimes and just observe. So that's what I've been doing. I do have some projects underway, so stay tuned for that. Eerie Expeditions magazine. I guess some of you are wondering, where is it and why is it so late? I do apologize. It's coming out. I had to reschedule the come out for the next magazine. It is a great issue, though. I promise you that. It's just that I'm kind of in the middle of packing up my house and getting ready to move across country again. So I have a lot going on. I just got off tour. I'm on my summer break, and in a few weeks, this show will be broadcast live from the foot of the Rockies, and we will be on Mountain Time instead of Pacific Time. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be kind of exciting. I have another announcement to make. And you know what? I don't have a photo, and I'm so sorry. I should have uploaded a photo for everybody. I'm going to welcome a new dog into my life. It's another golden retriever. I cannot wait. She's just a baby yet. I don't bring her home until June 5th, and actually, it's just on time for my birthday. So I will be bringing home a new puppy. Her name is Heidi. I'm very excited. I'm a little nervous about the land shark phase, so we'll see how this goes. It's going to be pretty fun now. So tonight on the Gateway podcast, I'm joined by paranormal investigator and Eerie Expeditions magazine writer, Kimberly Horn. She's also part owner of Horn Paranormal Equipment. I do have to plug this in, so check this out. This is one of her pieces right here. And I just have to share a story real quick about this little device. So when you play it, it's kind of like she could probably explain this better, but there's like 2,000 words in this thing, or a lot more than that. I'm doing a horrible job. I see her in the background kind of laughing at me. But long story short, it's supposed to say words and things when you take it. If a spirit is around, it's going to tell you names and stuff like that. And so it does, it kind of repeats a little bit. Like there's a group of words that it'll repeat a lot. And I kind of think, though, that just makes it more believable. And I'll tell you why. So I took it to Goldfield Cemetery, and I spent 2 weekends ago. I was there overnight. And yeah, there's a lady I'm writing about who is buried under an incorrect name. And so I did all this research. I've been researching her life for the last 2 years, and I actually pulled up her real name. I have her birth certificate from Houston. I have her death certificate from Goldfield, and she's buried under an incorrect name, and it's actually a pet name. And when our family disowned her, they put her under a pet name because they didn't want her associated with the actual family. So, and I wish I had this. Of course, I didn't get it on video. It never happens that way. But I had this thing playing, and I asked her point blank. I said, I know that's your real name on that tombstone. What is your real name? And it said Anna. What are the chances of that? And that is her real name, Anna. So, you guys, if you don't have this little box, I know it's horrible. Look, I can't even like get it to work. There it goes. Innova. Check this piece of equipment out. It's great. I love this thing. I was really excited to get this, but anyhow, okay, I'm done with the infomercial. Let me get them on here. Kimberly and Elsie, welcome to the show.
That's awesome.
I had to plug that.
Except for it's over 200,000 words in the
200,000. I said 2,000. I think the old one was 2,000, right?
The 2,000 or 2,500 is what the ovulus is.
Yes,
the ovulus. Yeah.
I'm available. I don't work with equipment usually, so.
That was great. I love it. I love that. It's gotten into some really cool hands that are, that are actually using it to try to debunk it. And it's turning out that it's catching some cool stuff. So that's what we want to hear. I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy too. If you want to buy this thing, check it out. It's hornparanormal.com. So
thanks for the infomercial.
Kimberly, let's start with you guys telling us a little bit about yourselves, first of all. Elsie, I know this is your very first show ever.
Is it?
I have done, this will be like my third.
Okay.
But not at this volume.
Well, I'm very honored to have you on. Can you tell me just a little bit about how you got into the paranormal?
Well, first of all, CL, I want to thank you for having the opportunity of inviting me to your show, and of course with Kim. I've been doing unofficially paranormal investigations since 2008. I dragged my two sisters to a place here, Mountain Theater in St. Paul, Minnesota. What do you want to do for your birthday? Well, here's me. Let's go on this investigation. And it was pretty cool. And then I progressed. In 2005, I stayed at, we knew it was haunted at a bed and breakfast in another place here in Thayer's Bed and Breakfast in Annandale, Minnesota. So, fast forward to 2019, I had gone to the Palmer House Hotel, and I went there twice, just the one time. And then, of course, COVID hit. And then I didn't start up going to paranormal things until 2022. And I did quite a few things. But I've always been someone that's always interested in the strange, the unexplained, the the paranormal, things that are odd. So
Got you.
Awesome.
And that's when I met Kim in 22.
Yeah, which was really cool because you were there with a friend at the same event I was at. So the events that I had been going with Scott to were small events. They were still public events, but they were smaller because the way Scott and I have always investigated, it was just him and I, and we didn't do events because we felt like they were contaminated with people. But we started doing them just because we had been making the equipment for a while, and we thought, we need to let people know that we are investigators and we make equipment. And so we didn't know how we were going to go about that because we used to sell our stuff on eBay and different places like that. So we picked places we ended up at Rhodes Hotel where Elsie was there, and that's when I first met Elsie, and that was in 2022. And then we found out we were going to the same event again up in Sumpter with a small group of people. So that was exciting because I knew somebody who was going to be there. And so we ended up in Sumpter, which turned out to be a crazy investigation, nothing that like I was expecting. My background, yeah, it was crazy.
It was, can't wait to get to it. Go ahead.
So Scott and I introduced Scott to the paranormal world. We got married in 2013, and our first investigation was actually there in Good Springs. We took one of those ghost tours right out of Vegas to go out to Good Springs, and it was because I was he knew about me being born with gifts, and how he was like, yeah, I don't believe in this stuff. I'm like, well, just go on this ghost adventure with me and let me see if I can show you what it's like, because he'd roll his eyes at me and things like that. But that is how I got him to be making equipment, was because of Good Springs, going on that and us capturing things on that trip that made him not be able to explain it. And so that's how he got into making equipment. And since 2013 and making equipment, it evolved into him selling equipment. It gave me a place where I could go do what I love to do with him, to like expand on my own thought processes of the paranormal and explore my own gifts and things. And it was really cool how it evolved from getting stuff captured that I was saying on a piece of equipment, or saying there's somebody standing there, and then catch it on a camera. And it was like, see, I've been trying to tell you there was somebody there. It gave me that validation and gave me more confidence in where I was going. So, but throughout my whole life, I think I had one experience when I was a little girl that was not ghostly. It was paranormal, but it wasn't ghostly. So leading to up to when we went to Sumpter, I didn't know how to feel about that investigation, because I was going there for the whole historic experience and the whole, what I had seen on TV from the Dead Files, from those shows I think I posted on my Facebook, where there was, I think it was Ghost Mine was popular in 2013 at the time, and they had done a special at Sumpter. And so I was really curious about it. I wanted to go for the spirits, but that's not how that night turned out at all. I mean, yes, there's spirits there, but there's more that happened there. And it changed the way I view everything going forward. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because I really haven't opened up about it very much to a few people. And it was why I asked Elsie, you got to come on, and because she was involved with it. She was like sitting next to me. She was in the room through the whole thing. So it gives a different perspective from what I saw and what she saw. So that would be kind of fun to talk about. So,
well, there's one of the things that I truly believe is that the history is so important to any paranormal investigation for so many different reasons. And I think this is a good case that kind of sums that up. So what I would like to do, if it's okay with you ladies, is to talk a little bit about the history of Sumpter, and then we can get into maybe the different aspects, like it was a hospital, and because it was a hospital, what do we typically expect in a haunting, and then we'll go into some of the other things. Is that okay?
Yeah,
I totally forgot it was a hospital. So yes, thank you for that here. But yes, we were told that. Yes.
So I'll let you guys talk a little bit about what is Sumpter, first of all. A lot of people don't even know what that is out there. So
Sumpter, Oregon, so Sumpter, Oregon is right across the border of Idaho. And how it came about was there was 5 men out there in 1862 from Sumpter, South Carolina. They had been out at Fort Sumpter, and they had discovered gold on Cracker Creek. And so they decided to name their cabin Sumpter Creek, or Sumpter, after Fort Sumpter, because it reminded them of the cannonballs during the Civil War and the rocks there. And so that's how it got its name. So it was kind of a cool background to begin with. So then, it being a mining town, gold rush time back in the 1860s, like everywhere else. And they were mining out of that creek. And I think I've got some notes here. I have to kind of cheat here. So at one time it went from 200 to 4,000 people like overnight because of that. And so this hospital was built. I guess they had a railway came in 1897 called Sumpter Valley Railway. And so that brought more people in. So they started building really fast to keep up with the town. And so they had a school, had 200 kids in it. They had built a Mason's Hall. They had this big, beautiful hotel. The pictures that I saw, if you can go to, I want to say it was on WordPress. I can't think of the name of it offhand, but it has a lot of the historical pictures of what the town looked like and when it was booming. And then in 1917, there was a huge fire that hit. And at the time, Dr. Brown had owned the hospital, and him and his wife were in another town when it happened. And he came back and there was 12 city blocks burnt down. Everything was burnt to the ground. So everything was already depleting. The gold was going away anyway, and they lost everything. So people just kind of moved out and left it kind of like a ghost town at that point. So a year later, he ended up selling what we know as Sumpter Inn now, because it's set up in a beautiful place overlooking the town. He just was heartbroken by it. And he sold it to, I want to say, Bessie O'Neill, and she turned it into a hotel called Mountain Valley, and that only lasted about a year. And then after that, the Masons, since they didn't have a Mason Hall, they took it over for like 55 years to like 1973. So there was that time period that it was a hospital up until the fire. And then I'm sure they brought the people there from the fire into the hospital, but it was just too much for the town to recover from. So that house has seen so much in such a short period of and then 55 years of the Masonic Hall after that. You can only imagine the layers of energy there. And me and Elsie can attest that they're all there. I stayed in the room on the end, and that I wanted to say, do you remember if that was like a nursery? All I know is that they had sightings of like a nurse or something. So that goes back to that layer of hospital, energy, that residual energy. I know my equipment went off in the room when we were there, but we weren't ever able to catch anything. What I do remember was it felt like somebody was in and out of the room, almost like you would check on a patient. It felt that way, that like somebody walking in the room, walking out, walking in, walking out. So it made it really hard for me to sleep in that room.
I remember
that
Kim.
What's that?
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, it was interesting, but we didn't really catch anything, because when you have an event like that overnight, we had, I won't mention names, but they're down a couple rooms down, we had a couple of guys who were snoring so loud that we couldn't take EVPs because they were contaminated. But I can tell you how I felt in that room. But I mean, and I think you were down the hall, weren't you, Elsie, when you stayed there?
Yes, I was in on the opposite side of the same side of the house, but in front. So I was, my room, I remember it being pink.
Yeah.
The pink room.
Yeah. So, and then
we're in this place.
So I know that we had experiences the first night that felt like a male gentleman that had to do with the Masonic side. So we were catching that kind of energy during our investigation part. And so, but it wasn't really super active. It was very mellow and stuff like that. So that's when we started doing experiments, which, if you think about it, experiments is what Masons are all about. You don't know what they did behind closed doors.
Yeah,
so,
it's really interesting.
Yeah. And I always wondered, because the hospital was before the Masonic stuff, there's probably no conflict in that energy. If the Masons had been there and then they turned it into a hospital with women, like a maternity ward, like they said, that was there and things like that, I think it would have more activity. personally, because I think it wouldn't want a Mason's Hall to be tainted by women, because that was the energy that we were picking up as women should not be in here talking to me. That was the angry, grumpy guy's attitude when we were there. Do you remember that? It didn't feel like it was friendly to us.
I mean, I had heard other people talk about it, but yes, I recall the people talking about it. Yes.
Yeah, but that's what I found interesting, that the layers, because when you look at the woodwork of the place, they went in and they removed things to make it look a hospital, but there's still stuff there. If you go there today, the Sumpter bed and breakfast, there's still remnants of the woodwork and the stuff that the Masons did to the place. So it's a beautiful building, as old as it is. They've taken such good care of it. But it's haunted. It's definitely haunted. I put a link in there with Ghost Mine. Brian Phillips, his family has owned it for quite a while, and he's the one who runs it now. And such a nice guy. Him and Mia Mick, they do a wonderful job. But he's got stories, because he was there. He had worked in the mines, and he said when they came into film that they weren't going to film. They were staying there. They just bought out the whole town for their camera crew, and so that they could do the ghost mining and do the mines, filming of the 2 mines that were there. And they ended up stopping, and because their wives, spouses, and camera crew that was at the house said this place is haunted. So they quit what they were doing and just started filming, and ended up doing an episode just on the bed and breakfast there. So
did you say that the owner used to work in a mine?
Yeah, I think he's born and bred there. I mean, I know that he would be somebody you would definitely want to have on here. He's so interesting. He could tell you the history of the town, history of this, of the bed and breakfast, the whole bit. He could tell you things that he's personally seen being there. He can tell you about the energies, because he's told us about it. The stuff that he's encountered while he was there. I mean, it's just wild.
That's interesting. Like, do you think that the miners, if they're ghosts, are kind of drawn to him because he's?
You know what? He can tell you stories about Tommy knockers and things like that, and he can definitely hit on that, because he knows stories of other miners that taught him how to mine there, because he shared some of that with us too. And it's definitely, I think they look out for each other. I think there's a sense of protectiveness in the town for certain things. You know, the other thing that was happening to us when we were there during our investigation, we kept smelling like fire. And when we put on, we're going to talk about later, those mind blocker glasses, that was one of the things that was coming up when people were going under the mind blocker glasses that we were using, was they were sensing a sense of the fire. They could smell it. That's how the sensation started happening. And I thought that was interesting too, because then we were picking up on energies that had to do with that time frame of the fire and getting burnt.
So many people will say that in places where there's I actually experienced that at the Washoe Club years ago.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the Masons, like you said, they do all this ritualistic stuff to open doors and things to another world, to gain information, to better themselves and those around them. That's one of their main staples, correct?
Right. Yeah. And it's all in secrecy, so none of us really know what they do. But it seems like everywhere I've ever investigated in the past, it always comes up, portals and things like that. And I think that's pretty interesting. Like portal energy and Masons. And it seems like everyone, Knights of Pythias, all of those places that are like that, there is some weird stuff that comes through on our equipment through EVPs. It's always seems like more activity. And I think it has something to do with whatever they did back in the day with, their secret ceremonies and stuff. I think somehow it imprinted, whether they did truly open it portals, I don't know. But I think because of that might kind of explain why we had the experience that I had there. I have thought about it, and I've never had it before, and I've never had it since what happened the night in Sumpter. And that's the only thing I can think of, is that maybe because it was Masons for so long, that it was welcomed that in a lot quicker than it would be, let's say, if you were just to do a regular investigation where they had never been.
Or they opened
I
a
don't
door
know.
that they never closed.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into what actually happened to you guys. Let's talk
Okay.
about it. And listeners out there, just hold on to the part about the Masons for a minute. Just remember that as they're talking. We'll get back to that in a little bit.
So Elsie, it was one of your pairs of mind blocker glasses we were using, right? We started doing experiments in there because we were like, hey, we're in this place. Let's try to get everybody engaged. And so they started doing experiments, and there was 2 pairs of mind blocker glasses, right? They were the mind blockers. One was yours.
So
you may have to explain just a little bit what that is, because a lot of listeners aren't going to know. Sorry to interrupt.
So what mind blocker glasses are, if you were to Google them, Bill Chappell made a pair and he sold them for a while. And what they are is they put lights, flashing lights. So they're like deprivation glasses is the best way I can describe them. And so anyway, so you wear them and you put headphones on just like you're doing an Estes method, but it's not Estes because you've got all these lights flashing that could probably cause a person to have a seizure. I mean, you need to sign a release to really use these. And what it does is supposed to send you in some kind of alternate state. And so the way we had it was we were in a circle and we were taking volunteers, and we'd have one person in a chair and another person, and they'd be facing each other with these headphones and glasses on. And then we'd sit back where they couldn't hear us and wait until they started talking, and they were supposed to tell us what they saw and what they heard and what they felt. And then we'd ask them questions and they couldn't hear us. Pretty soon, the 2 in the middle that can't hear each other started saying stuff, and then the other person started adding to it. And there's no way that those 2 could have a conversation like they were having at all. It was mind-boggling, because it was interesting, because then you start wondering, this isn't ghost stuff that's happening. This isn't spiritual. This is almost like a different type of phenomenon, and it's like, is this some kind of, psychic connection? What is it? So you start asking these questions, and Elsie was sitting next to me on the couch, and she was videoing everything that was going on the whole time, and just taking pictures, just watching people. We were just like sitting back, like almost the audience, just wondering, kind of like observing kind of deal. And so pretty soon they start talking back and forth about the stars outside and spaceships and portal energy, and they're answering each other, going back and forth and back and forth. And we're like, this has got weird. And I looked at Scott. I remember saying, this isn't what I signed up for, because I wasn't into this stuff. I wanted to go take notes. And I'm like, this got a little weird. And so, but it was interesting. And so I'm like, and I'm trying to figure out, how are they able to do this back and forth to each other? And then they trade partners, and the same thing would happen. It would take them a while, maybe even 20, 30 minutes before somebody totally got under, started seeing things, seeing people walking different things. And pretty soon they start talking about stuff. And then they were like, boom, 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 boom. And they started talking about shooting stars. We'll see a sign outside. Look up in the sky. You'll see shooting stars will go by. We're above you. They're saying the stuff, and we're going, that's kind of creepy, weird. Are they tuning in? What are they tuning into? So at the end of the night, the last experiment was, we kept the 2 people in the middle. So we were still doing this thing to do with the stars and the universe and things like that. And we're all sitting back, and the person who's running it had us hold hands like a seance. So it was almost like a seance. He was trying to put us under to get us into a state while they were still kind of connected with those glasses on. And I can't even remember what he was asking or saying. All I know is I started feeling pressure in the back of my head, a headache. And when I being psychic and things that my abilities, when a spirit's trying to jump me, they try to enter back here, the nape of my neck. So I knew what was going on, that somebody was trying to step in. I was thinking spirit. Okay, now we're getting into spirit. But that's not what happened. This other person around about 4 people down, he goes, and he's got abilities too. He can channel. He's like, I'm getting a headache. And I was thinking, I've got a headache. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with this. This is why I'm here. I'm just going to go with this. And as I was going under, next thing I know, my head feels like Max Headroom. I'm going, no, 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 no. The vibration was so high inside my head. I felt like my brain was rattling. I was just going, bo, 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 bo. And it was just so vibrational, so high. It was just going like this. And I'm like, I lifted my head. And I wasn't I was still holding hands with everybody, but I'm like, what the heck's going on? And I was trying to figure out, because this isn't no spirit I've ever had step into me. What is this? And so I'm like, who are you? What are you? Show me, please, because I still had my mental capacity. It wasn't like I was gone. I stepped out. I was still in there feeling this. No, 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 no. And it started with the blue, like a light blue, and it started stretching up my spine. And I was visually in my mind seeing this blue entity coming up like within my body. It was showing me in my mind's eye this big blue being inside of me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're what? And it starts looking at everybody. It turns my head. I don't turn my head, but I'm aware. And I look to Scott and I just look around the room real slowly, moving my head real slowly. And I can see people's auras, but I saw their auras on everybody. But inside their body, I saw their golden light, their life force. And it was looking at each person's life force. My head's tingling just talking about it right now. It's wild. But I could see that. And I was just in awe because I was just slowly, it was in observation mode. It was just watching all of us and what we were doing. And I could see what it was seeing. It was seeing this golden life force inside each other's person's body. And the next thing I remember, Scott and Elsie are shaking me and I come out of it. And it was like so fast it happened. It was like, wait, I wasn't ready yet because I was trying to figure out what it was. But when I came out of it, I was like in shock. And I didn't know what to do with that information. I'm like, what the hell? And I was too embarrassed to tell everybody what I just experienced. It wasn't something I was ready to talk about. And so when I looked over at everybody, it was so weird for me. And I was it was almost like getting woke up fast out of a dream or something, and you're trying to find out where you're at. But Elsie was right next to me. And she said, what did you say, Elsie? I don't even remember what I said to her. She said, I got a jolt of energy inside me and something was negative, but it didn't, honest God, it wasn't negative. I just didn't know what it was. And I was like in shock over it. And that's all I remember. And then I ended up going outside and I cried. I cried so hard. But yeah. So Elsie, what happened from your point of view?
So what happened was you were sitting to my left. So, and when we were all of us in the group were holding hands and the facilitator was saying whatever they were saying. And all of a sudden, I'm going to say it was very early on. We weren't in this circle very long. Early on, all of a sudden you jerked my hand and we were still had our hands, and I said, and I said, I asked if you were okay. And you said, oh, just negative energy. And I said, was it negative energy from me?
I think I do remember that.
I didn't know if I was maybe transmitting something to you, some kind of negative energy that I wasn't aware of. And you said, no, it's not from you. And I'm thinking, oh, good. But unbeknownst to us, it happened again. And then I want to say you took your hands in. And if I could do this here, oops.
Oh, disappearing act.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to show you where you were looking like this. I don't know if I can show you, but you were going like this, kind of into yourself, and you're kind of looking. You're very, you got very, your back went into the, you melted into the sofa, and you got very, very small. And I was saying, you know, Kim, are you okay? Kim, you know, we were trying to get your attention, and you were not responding. And we kept asking you several times, hey, Kim, are you okay? Because of course we don't know if there's a medical situation or whatever, but you were just really small, like, and you had like, your face was just kind of scowling. And then I had said, I don't really know Kim, but that's not her inside there anymore. Wow. That's what I had, something similar to that. And because you weren't responding to your name, you were not like aware that we were even talking to you. And I said, wow. I don't know what's going on, but that's not Kim anymore. And shortly after that, your spouse took you out into outside to see if he can kind of bring you to, because we didn't know if a medical had happened or, but it was, we were all scared because we didn't know what had just happened. And I do want to talk about one quick second. We were in the experiment, we had mixed mind blocker with Estes method. So totally two different methods at the same time. So that's where that's what was even more bizarre about it. But you did return, and you kind of let everyone know you were okay. But I was not expecting at a paranormal investigation for it to meld into some kind of alien stuff, which I'm okay with per se, because I'm interested in all that, but totally unexpected. Yeah.
Now, how did you guys make the conclusion that this was something very different than your typical spirits?
It was a definite feeling. And because I think everything just fit together like this big puzzle piece, each thing we did, where, you know, the two that were in the center had been talking about, you know, things that were in space, you know, and then this incident that happened with Kim. And then there was another participant that, Kim, you could probably tell about that a little bit more.
So I went outside with Scott, and I just hugged him, and I just started bawling. I was just so overwhelmed. And he's like, are you okay? Because that's weird. Why are you crying now? And so I had to tell him, I said, I just had this thing. I said, I don't want to tell them in there because they're going to think I'm weird. They don't know me. I can't share this with anybody. And I don't know how to say it. So I kind of handed to Elsie a little bit about it, but I didn't know how to explain my situation because I was still processing it. Because I have had years. I mean, I have been born. I saw my first spirit when I was 5 years old. So I know what it feels like, spirit energy. I know all this. This was something I'd never experienced before. And then, so I come in, I'm calmed down. They're like, are you okay? And I was all embarrassed. Like, yeah, I'm okay. Sorry. You know, and was just doing my thing. And so then a guy that was part of it, he wanted to go out and smoke cigarettes. So I wanted to get back outside again. And one of the things the ladies in the middle had said was look up and watch for a sign, a meteor shower. And I'm out there with him, and we're looking at the stars, and I'm like trying to like, whoa, this is a big wide world. That's freaky. And all of a sudden this big old meteor shower goes over. It was like, if that ain't a confirmation, it gives me chills now. So of course he and I go inside. Guess what we just saw outside? We just saw these. It wasn't just one shooting star, but there were shooting stars. This was a whole meteor shower that went over. And that's what those guys had said while they were under with their glasses and headphones on. It was like, that was kind of mind blowing for me, because it was like, yeah, what happened to you really happened. You know, it was like, you know, but it's an experience. And without everybody else seeing it, how do you share that? I didn't, at the time, I was afraid I was going to get picked on. You know, but this whole time it's stuck with me. One thing that has happened because of that, my abilities got, so I know you guys think I'm weird, but when people have abilities, they get certain senses on the top of their head, they feel it down their body, they get sensations, right? So when they're in presence of spirit, it hits your body. Your body is your first reactor. And I found this out going to Virginia City off on the roads because I saw something that I've never seen before going up there. My lips and the roof of my tongue and my mouth, like when you're coming out of a shot from the dentist, start to tingle. And I've never had that. And I think that is a new sign when I'm in the presence of another type of energy now. And it all came from that night. And whatever was inside me and gave me that higher vibrational pull opened my senses up even more, if that makes sense. That has stayed with me. And I think it's because that happened. I think if this other person who was getting a headache would have been opened up more, like I was, that person would have been the one that the spirit would have jumped, or this entity would have jumped into. But what's so crazy about it is, as Elsie was taking pictures around the rooms and through the whole weekend, she had sent me the pictures that she had. And I started seeing by the doorway that night, there was two people doing Estes method in the corner, man and wife in the corner, and standing between them, I swear to God, was a 4-foot gray in the pictures. Now, people might say it's pareidoia. I've got to look for the pictures. We were just talking about that before I come on, but I will swear to it that there was other entities in that room with us that night, and I can't explain it. And I don't understand why there was a big blue being inside me, but yet there was a little 4-foot gray standing behind those guys. It was almost like they were all hanging out in there. I don't understand it because alien stuff, like I said, I don't know anything about it. I don't, it's not my, I don't get into, I like cryptids. I like the stuff. I like the whole paranormal, but it's not my expertise at all. I don't have a lot of experience with that. So, it's, to me, I'm still trying to find answers. And I went on the internet for months after trying to identify what I know I saw in my mind's eye. And there's not a picture on the internet that I have found yet that looked exactly like what was in my mind when that happened with the vibration. Close, but not quite. So, but the little gray, he looks like what they have on the internet. He does. So I thought that was really interesting. So back to your Masonic thoughts. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Well, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but before we talk about the Masonic thoughts. So Kim had performed a cleansing on me that weekend. And I am not someone that normally sees things, feels things, or whatever. I'm just kind of new to it all. Well, before the incident with Kim had happened, the facilitator had us sit in the doorways. Well, the person next to me, I was talking to him, and we were just talking, and I had my recorder going, my digital recorder going. And I said to him, your face is morphing. And I started to name off all of the changes that it was doing. I am not someone that sees stuff like that. That was the very first time. Literally, his face was changing from like Dracula to, Abraham Lincoln.
Like it was
to
Dracula.
like overimposing on top of
I can't remember. I named all of them as I was seeing them, and they were happening so quickly. And
interesting.
I was just literally, I am like in such utter surprise, and I'm like, I don't know how to explain this. And I mean, I was, some people go into investigations, they will take drugs or alcohol sometimes. I had absolutely nothing in my system. And I was like, that instance, I could not believe my eyes, where his face was changing and I was naming the changes, and it was so wild. And I don't know if that has something to do with the energy in the house. I've not had it happen since, but perhaps one of them was a mason that came through when he morphed. I don't know. It was happening so quickly.
The person that it happened to, I know, has abilities and can channel, and he's not comfortable with it, and he doesn't have time to explore it, so he tries to shut it off. But she's right. He was actually seeing stuff up into that point. So with that, and then her seeing that, something happened to him in that house. I don't know if something was trying to latch onto him, at that point, or what, because this person, like I said, he knows he has these abilities, but he's not comfortable about exploring them yet. So I don't know if that made him a target. So, I don't know. Those things, it's kind of interesting. And I know that the people that were there, they don't protect up when they go in because they want to explore that. And so I don't know what it was, but there was something else there. Could it be? Maybe. Or was it something else if you have open portals? I don't know. All I know is I slept fine other than being tired. I never felt like I was ever in danger. And even with that happening to me, I never felt like I was in danger. That's the interesting. I never feared for my life when that thing was inside me or during the whole investigation. I was never afraid of it. I was shocked. I was like, because that was a new one for me, but I always felt like there wasn't the fear that you would have, like you were in danger, the fight or flight. Right. It was never like that. So I don't know what they might have done there.
Do you, you said you found reports of sightings in the area during that time. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, the same year they actually had a sighting. It was, I put my glasses on so I can read that. It was number 886 in the register, case number 886. That same year, they actually had a UFO sighting there. So then when I looked back in that area, because Oregon Pacific Northwest always has UFO sightings. And what was interesting about the meteor shower, it was going to the west, which would be towards that way when they had done that, or whoever, or whatever that was. But there was another sighting. There was two sightings. So Baker City is only 33 minutes away, and that there was another sighting in Baker City, and then that was actually in October of 2024. And then there was two others 25 years prior to the night that we had, and that was in Baker City too in 1997. So there's been sightings in that area of UFOs. And I thought it was interesting that 25 years later, the activity, there's an uptick again.
Yeah, that is really interesting. It would be an interesting study to follow kind of where some of the older Masonic lodges were, and then compare the correlation between that and UFO sightings and things like that.
And the mining, it seems like there is correlation to some of that stuff. It was in the mountains, there's mining, there's water, there's probably limestone there. There's all those factors that seem to come into with hauntings anyway. What would they be attracted to there? Was it the mining situation? I mean, what's under the ground? Because with if it happens to be an alien type situation, they seem to see around bases and places where there's uranium and things like that. What's under the ground there that they would be, or were they just drawn in there because of what you were saying about the Masons, whatever the Masons did?
What the Masons doing there too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
They choose
for 55 years they had their place set up there, even when the town was almost dead.
It's if they were mining gold, I've learned this just from living in Nevada and being a rock hound, you can't have gold without quartz. They come hand in hand. So
there you go.
Definitely quartz there if they were mining gold.
Yeah. Like I said, Brian Phillips and Mia, they run it now. It's a great place. Sumpter B&B is on Facebook. They also have their own website. It's beautiful. They get snow. They do snowmobiling. They do all kinds of fun things in the little town. they're the nicest people. They're the most hospitable people that I have probably ever met. It's not an expensive place to stay. And I would recommend people going and checking that out for themselves because, like I said, it is a cool place. It's in the mountains. There's a dredge there still from that they used in the 1950s. There's some other stuff where they brought in Chinese to move rocks by hand, and there's big piles of them up the mountain. I mean, there's a lot more history there than we even covered tonight. But because the focus I wanted was on the inn itself, whatever happened there that night through those experiments, you know. And I think talking to Brian, he's seen stuff in the night air too, up in the stars. He'd be great for you to interview, to be honest with you. He's a plethora of knowledge. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We're just about out of time. We have about 5 minutes left. I do want
to talk about Elsie being a ghost on the screen.
Yeah, it's like someone wrote on here, the bricks are trying to take over. I don't know. She might be hurt. Might be a ghost. We just don't know it.
Yeah, maybe she's not really here. Maybe she's here.
Out here.
I'm kind of feeling like a scene from with the Emperor in
The Wizard of Oz.
No, in the Star Wars.
That's right. Yeah, it's like it.
We were having lighting issues tonight, people, with my, apparently I need to go to a different room next time I do a podcast.
She's just, behind the curtain.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I did want to, you know what? So I know all of you are going to be so disappointed. I had 2 books of Kimberly's, of Hurdy-Gurdy. Kimberly, you have that book. Can you hold that up real quick? Look how cute this little children's book is, you guys. I had 2 copies. I wanted to give a copy away, and of course, it's packed and it's been shipped to Wyoming, so I don't have it. However, in the future, I am going to give one of these books away to a listener out there. But Kimberly, where can I purchase this thing? What is this about?
You can get, they're children's books, and I've decided to make a series out of them. I'm almost done with my second one already, so they're going to be around for a while because I really enjoyed making them. They are, Hurdy-Gurdy is a Little Nerdy is the name of the title, and it basically starts with him, and he's different, and this is a paranormal, it's like 44 stanzas, really easy. It's a children's book. It's 44 stanzas, all 4-line stanzas, and it tells a story about Hurdy-Gurdy and how he can see things that other people can't. And here, I'll just read the back to you. It says, Hurdy-Gurdy sees things other children don't see. He hears whispers, notices sparkles, and isn't afraid of shadows. While others may not understand him, Hurdy knows something important. Being different isn't strange. It is special. So then I bring Hurdy back after this one, and he comes back, and school's in session, and he's made some new friends, and he actually has decided the kids and him, his friends, come together, and they make a paranormal club. So it's Hurdy, and my next book title is Hurdy and the Little Lantern Club, and it's the mystery of the missing violin. So now they're going on little adventures. And
I love this. I so wish they would have had something like this when I was a kid. Because, when you're a kid and you're seeing things like that and there's nobody to talk to really, this would have been, what did I have? Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, I think it's good, and it can fit for, even though it does that and it talks about that, but it also gets kids to use their imagination, gets us back to using our brain again, and gets you, because I feel like it's important that when we're at a young age to develop ourselves, whether you don't grow up to have abilities or not, the fact that you have an imagination helps you create. It makes a writer someday. It makes you not afraid to face the unknown, and that can help you as an adult face everyday stuff. So I think it's really important that little children and in school that they realize it's okay. It's okay if you're different. It's okay if it's like this. you know, it's fun. It's okay. So that's kind of what the book's about. And I have a trilogy that I'm going to work on when I'm on vacation. I've already got the first one out there. It's out on Amazon too, called The Lost Son. And that's different. That's a fantasy fiction. But I'm, like I said, I'm on my second one of the children's book that I'm about to release and put out there. So expect a lot of those. So, and that's, you can find them on hornparanormal.com or go to Amazon and look for Kimberly Horn. You'll find me. I think there's only one other Kimberly Horn out there. So you'll be able to recognize it.
Do you have anything coming up?
Yes.
Any,
Well, do I have something coming up? So I am going on an investigation at the old Baraboo Inn, which is someplace I've never gone. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I stepped away from investigation for a little bit. And now here's an opportunity for me to attend a fun event. And I'm bringing my sister-in-law along with me. So she'll see how I do things mostly ghostly.
You're gonna
Nice.
love that place. I've been talking with the owner of that place quite a bit over the last week and a half. So you're gonna love that place.
Oh, great. Good to hear.
Ladies, thank you so much for coming, spending some time on the air and talking to me about Sumpter. And I'm gonna have to go out there.
for having it.
I'm really interested in contacting aliens, and I just want to go out there.
You never know what you get.
Hey, you know what? When you get to Wyoming, maybe we will go to the medicine wheel because I'll be up there close by. And that could be one of those places to investigate something like that.
For sure, for sure.
So,
Well, thank you, ladies.
thank you.
So you've been listening to The Gateway, broadcast from the edge of the Mojave and soon to be the foothills of the Rockies. Stay tuned for that, where the strange slips through the cracks, live from United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans. I want to give a shout out to United Public Radio Network for all that they do and for giving me the opportunity to have this show every week to talk to you guys for an hour about my life and what's going on. It's a great opportunity. I want to thank my guests, Kimberly and Elsie Ann. Thank you all for listening to the Gateway Podcast. If it was not for you guys, this show would not exist. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's where I store all of these past episodes. Leave a review and share it with a fellow traveler of the strange and unexplained. And until next time, stay curious.